Omega-3 Elixir. Come at me. That is a label if I've ever seen one. This is now live on GorilloMind.com, and I could not be more excited about a supplement. I have not been excited about like a supplement to arrive on my door for a minute. This is a product that, first of all, is incredibly difficult to source a non-rancid one, which we'll get into. But it is one of the few things in an industry that is otherwise riddled with kind of like, maybe it helps, maybe it's ergogenic, maybe it imparts some health benefits, maybe it'll help you live longer, maybe it'll do this, maybe it'll do that. In an industry full of maybes, like omega-3s are probably part of most of our lives on a daily basis. Like this is kind of like one of the non-negotiable staples if you were going to have, you know, a short list of what are the things that you basically always take, you know, fish oil, creatine, you know, stuff like that. Fish oil's at the top, man. Like this is one of the most impactful from a health, vitality, indirect performance, cognitive health, mental well-being. Like there's so many upsides of having optimized omega-3 status. Some hard-hitting facts that you might have not known that I felt worth mentioning. Having low omega-3 levels ranks among the top 6 causes of preventable death. Right up there with smoking, high blood pressure, and obesity. Pretty shocking statistic. In addition, most Americans have an omega-3 index of 4% or less. And the risk of sudden cardiac death appears reduced by 90% in those with the highest omega-3 index. And the differential between somebody going from, you know, less than 4% on the omega-3 index to above 8 and getting to like 9 or 10, it is literally like a few of these a day, shockingly. So this is an incredibly useful product, but this is kind of the double-edged sword of fish oil and omega-3 formulas. It is rife with rancid products that may be more harmful than helpful. This is something that always freaked me out and always made me feel like I was rolling the dice whenever I bought a fish oil product, especially up in Canada where it was more difficult to get, you know, the vetted, you know, Nordic Naturals and whatnot. You often would be like smelling your product and hoping, you know, based on if it didn't smell too fishy, that it was probably not going to fuck you up. Like that is kind of the standard by which a lot of us have bought fish oil products in the past. And fortunately now there are some more rigorous companies out there, like Nordic Naturals, for example. But once I got into what some of the threshold acceptable safe values are for oxidation and rancidity, how to attenuate it, how to manufacture with high quality in an industry like this, what goes into it, also tactics to actually bolster omega-3 integrity once it's actually in the bottle. There's a lot in this industry that even shocked me, and it's kind of why I avoided this product for so long. Is I had to learn how it works and how to make sure you have a high enough quality one that's actually worth introducing, because I did not want to introduce just another omega-3 product. Like every company has their run-of-the-mill, you know, slap their label on, fill in the blank, and it's just the same thing as everyone else's. That is not what we wanted to do with this. So until I was able to come up with something unique, different, innovative, it kind of just sat on the sidelines, but this is it. And this is something I'm pumped about. I will not be using Nordic Naturals Ultimate Omega 2X anymore. Like this thing is more potent, meets a more rigorous threshold for oxidation and rancidity, shockingly as well. Also probably has a more, I would say, innovative strategy for attenuating the degradation of it. And it's just more potent per soft gel. And it does more things because there are other parts of the formula that we'll get into. This video is going to end up being 30 minutes if I don't reel myself in. So I'm going to give you guys a high level, and we're going to do a deep dive on YouTube that I'll probably put up on Instagram too. But that one will be like 30 plus, maybe 60 minutes of just like everything that goes into the integrity of the product, potency, the actual form the omega-3 is in, you know, triglyceride form versus phospholipid versus ethyl ester, what you want and why, third-party testing thresholds, what is acceptable, how it differs internationally, and how the thresholds are actually not as rigorous among some companies that claim to be like the top of the top. And shockingly too, the prevalence of rancidity, I mentioned briefly, but upwards of 50% of products in North America, at least tested in some of the more recent multi-year rancidity analysis studies, upwards of, it's like flipping a coin if you're gonna get something that might fuck you up versus actually help you. So this is a product you want to have vetted pretty thoroughly from where you're getting it, and also make sure it is actually supporting what you were trying to get out of it rather than maybe harming. I don't, you know, it's a wildly volatile category, and that's kind of what steered me away from it in the past. But I'm pumped to have something I can confidently put out there and say, like, this is the most robust omega-3 support in every serving that you could be getting. Unmatched potency, 2,210 milligrams of omega-3s per 2 soft gels, efficacious dose of EPA, DHA, DPA, ETA, ratio of EPA to DHA is science-based. Format, natural reesterified triglyceride form, which is superior bioavailability to ethyl ester form omega-3, and pretty significant actually. And it gets even more dramatic if you have it on with a fatty meal or not. Like if you don't have ethyl ester with a fatty meal, like the absorption capacity is so bad in comparison to a reesterified triglyceride form. Also, way more resistant to oxidation and rancidity than ethyl ester form as well. And ultimately, this is a product that you are probably using daily, and I feel like there is room to improve on, at least with most formulas that I've personally bought in the past. And this is something that motivated me. You know, there's very few times when a supplement company in 2024 could actually come to the table and say, oh, I saw a hole in the market. Like, that's almost always fluff marketing nonsense. Like, this is actually something that, to me, this was something that was a hole in the market, and I feel worthwhile for almost anybody who is using a fish oil product to carefully evaluate the one you're using and think about switching. Also, innovative that I need to touch on, aside from the third-party testing parameters that we'll touch on briefly, check this out. These things look like trend capsules. See that? Is it gonna focus, or is it just gonna stay on my goddamn eyebrow this whole time? Oh my God. Boom. Get in there, buddy. So this is blood red capsules. Why, you ask? Why doesn't it look yellow like a normal, you know, fish oil product? Is because I infused them with astaxanthin for additional oxidation attenuation potential. Why exactly? Well, back in the day, I had heard all the hype about krill oil and why this was so great because it would bolster the omega-3 integrity of the product further, because, you know, krill would have this very, very potent antioxidant that would actually protect the integrity of the omegas. But the problem with krill oil was they were so weak in concentration for EPA and DHA that despite the marketing material of people that sold krill oil telling you like, oh, it's better quality, so you're getting like, you know, a 10x effect for the same milligrams of EPA and DHA, it was still so weak that you had to take like half the bottle daily in order to impart the actual, you know, get the efficacious dose. So what we did that I thought was kind of cool is we infused astaxanthin into a highly concentrated reesterified triglyceride form fish oil product that is sourced from sustainably harvested wild-caught anchovies, sardines, mackerel, like what you want to get out of a high-quality fish oil with the potency that you want, in the format that you want, with the bioavailability you want, with the infusion of the astaxanthin on top, as well as some mixed tocopherols for additional oxidation attenuation too, which is pretty standard for most high-level fish oil products. But like the astaxanthin inclusion I thought was novel and interesting, and at least I hadn't seen it being done. And it makes these badass looking trend capsules, which look pretty sweet. And in addition to that, there are some unique attributes to astaxanthin that have been coming out over the past couple of years that was kind of just fortuitous timing. Like it has shown in the ITP, which I'll get into what that is in the YouTube video in longer form, but basically it's a testing program that assesses the lifespan and health span enhancing attributes of like the most promising agents on the planet. So things like resveratrol at the time was, you know, something that was promising. You know, NMN, you have metformin, you know, all of these products that you've heard could maybe extend lifespan or be anti-aging or, you know, suppress mTOR and make you live longer or whatever. Like, this is the most rigorous testing program that actually assesses what the impact of these compounds are in rodents to then extrapolate out if it's actually worthwhile for humans to be evaluating further themselves. And often a lot of compounds that get overhyped in, you know, podcasts and random social media posts end up getting completely dismantled when they enter this program, because it's an unbiased program that is not funded by somebody trying to sell you that ingredient. Rather, it is just like a unbiased, very, very scientific dismantlement of every single ingredient that makes it into the program. And they test pretty much everything you could think of that you've probably heard as anti-aging. And often they have, you know, disappointing results proportional to what you've heard they probably do. However, this past year, the most potent enhancement of lifespan in the ITP of all the compounds tested, the most potent was astaxanthin. Interestingly enough, like, it was just like, it wasn't even on my radar at the time for that. Like, the main purpose of including it was for the oxidation, rancidity, kind of like protection component. But apparently it extends lifespan in the rodents tested by 12%, which was more than, it was like 4% more than a mTOR inhibitor, which is like an aggressive pharmaceutical drug that's meant to like inhibit the literal process that the main mechanism by which you drive like anabolic outcomes. Like, just an over-the-counter antioxidant that has very, very good safety data in humans, showing that in rodents was pretty interesting to me. And of course, I'm not extrapolating out to say that's going to happen in humans whatsoever, but it is very cool to see it like hammer all of these pharmaceuticals that have all these unique pathways and, you know, pretty aggressive mechanisms of action that are kind of sketchy to, you know, lean into. But this just like good antioxidant that has shown to be very effective in humans, and well tolerated and safe and blah, blah, blah. GRAS status with the FDA, like it was just pretty cool to see. So kind of an indirect, fortunate fringe benefit, as well as the fact that there was a 2024 meta-analysis that showed that astaxanthin was actually potentially ergogenic, at least for aerobic endurance capacity. Among some other things. Like, it's actually a pretty interesting ingredient that is absolutely worth looking at, even if you're not going to be on a fish oil product. Just separately, it's a cool ingredient. But anyways, it is, I'm, you know, very pumped on this formula. It's also, you can tell the quality of the actual rancidity and oxidation rating, aka the TOTOX score. You can actually literally see it in real time play out when you sniff this thing. Fresh lemon scent and taste, no fishy burps. Like, often when those factors are, if that happens with a product you buy, it could be indicating a rancid product. You know, that's one of the telltales. But overall, the third-party testing in particular and the TOTOX scoring is something I will get into in elaborate detail in the YouTube video. But basically what I can give you as a teaser is, when it comes to purity, potency, heavy metals, toxins, rancidity, and oxidation threshold cutoffs, we actually have the most rigorous standard compared to other industrial standards that are held internationally, that a lot of the biggest companies are holding themselves to. We had a more rigorous internal standard that we not only met, but we smoked. And like, I am confident in telling you guys, like, this thing will not only hang from a purity standpoint, but the potency is just like unmatched. You know, you have the 2,210 milligrams of omega-3s per 2 soft gels. You know, this thing is more stacked, plus the other adjuncts I mentioned with the astaxanthin and whatnot, than the most potent Nordic Naturals formula that I was using myself personally. And this is cheaper. You can get on a subscription, and it's, I believe, $39.99 a month recurring, whereas with Nordic Naturals, it was like $53. If you're on a subscription, it goes down to like $47 or something. And you can also use a coupon code to save 10% on your first order. It goes down to like 36 bucks on your first order, and then it's 39 recurring. But this is something that basically everyone's going to be using daily. You might as well get the most rigorously vetted, potent, that you know is actually going to correct your omega-3 index as well. So I mentioned at the start briefly the index of 4% or less that the average American has. You want to get that up to at least 8% quickly if it's not. If you want to get that lab test, by the way, merrickhealth.com, we offer the Omega. Test is the Omega check, I believe. So you can check that out on the site if you want to test it yourself, but that's a way to track, you know, how impactful is the product you're using too. Like, what is your omega-3 status in your actual red blood cells? So anyways, there's a lot more. I am just like like holding myself back from bursting out information, but you can check it out, GorillaMind.com. I am so pumped about this formula, and I no longer have to be buying, you know, from goddamn iHerb Nordic Naturals. So, killer. Hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do, and this is a product that I'm probably gonna be taking every day for years to come. So check it out, GorillaMind.com, and stay tuned for the extremely detailed and nerdy long-form version of this, as if this was somehow a short-form video. So thanks for watching, guys. Check out the product.